It's time for Dart Talk. Brought to you by thedartzone.com. Stay in the zone. Thedartzone.com is an official Cosmo distributor and Windy City Fabricators, America's premier fabricators of orthotics and prosthetics. And Redwood Darts, America's newest tungsten darts. Stand straight and tall and hit them all. Redwood Darts. And now, here are your hosts, Mystery Mark and Steve P.
Okay, welcome to Dart Talk. That
How
didn't
is it
take
going?
long.
Tons of fun today.
Oh my. Steve Hellman with Mystery Mark and CRG, Jenny Higgs, the chat room girl, brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. Also, many thanks.
Redwood Darts.
Windy City Fabricators and Redwood Darts.
Yes.
We're starting late today. Sorry about
Unfortunately.
we got some little technical difficulties. The IT department apparently is on strike today.
Yeah,
something.
they all went on vacation at the same time.
Gremlins, too much rain.
The monsoon that we're having outside, that could be part of it too.
You know, I literally have not seen sun since Arizona, and that was like a week ago.
It was.
I'm going to get that. What
The
is
only
that?
day that we had sun, you slept through.
Yeah, what is it? Like seasonal affective disorder or something where you get depressed because there's no sun or something?
That everybody in Seattle has.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
There's some sort of
something like that.
Nonsense. I'm sure there's a pill for it. We have a lot of I may just do an hour-long rant. I mean, I am about as irritated with
before
everybody.
You do that, you should run a disclaimer.
Disclaim any and all. Yeah,
before you go off for an hour.
Save our sponsor.
The views and opinions expressed by guests on Dart Talk do not necessarily reflect the thoughts or opinions of the hosts, our sponsors, any official Dart sanctioning organization, and post hoc ergo propter hoc, any and all spelunkers, debunkers, raconteurs, roustabouts, technocrats, hepcats, cat ladies, Lady Gaga, the Four Seasons, the Three Stooges, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, hipsters, kibitzers, hellions, the fickle finger of fate, or Tom Waits.
Okay,
so good.
Heidi ho, Heidi ho.
Oh, and yes. Oh, you're just saying hi.
I'm just saying hi. You guys got to say hi. I'm just saying hi.
Okay, that's awesome.
Hi, chat room.
Okay, well, as long as you got the mic up there.
Let's start with you.
We'll start with you.
Yeah.
Now, you went to to a soft tip tournament over the weekend that was apparently mishandled and misrun and misrepresented in, I don't know, 5 or 6 different ways that I could count from you telling me. You want to tell everybody.
Elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, because I'll tell you, there are larger issues that are really like killing me today. And I want to get to them, and they kind of tie into what you were telling me, in the pre-show fist fight. So
we did have a pre-show fist fight. That was fun.
So let's hear about this.
Well, as always, it was a great time with friends and fellow darters. But unfortunately, this goes really for all tournaments too, not just this tournament. But this tournament just happens to be fresh on my mind. There was a rule that has never been enforced, and instead of announcing it was going to be enforced at the beginning of the tournament, they decided halfway through that they were going to enforce it, which meant the male players were only going to be allowed to play 3 events on Saturday and Sunday.
Out of 5, right?
Out of 5, which kind of left, some people didn't sign up for singles, some did, and they thought, well, now they can't play for the rest of the weekend if they're set up for both the mixed events. There were 2 events for the men still on Sunday to come. There were 3 all day for Saturday. The women who were set up with the mixed events with these guys, we were cool about it. They said, we just want to play 1 mixed event now because we want to play with our doubles partner on Sunday. So after...
But the women's singles
women's singles count. It doesn't count.
But the men's singles does count.
Yes, it's just ridiculous. So it just caused a huge uproar. Well, then they changed it back. I think right as the mixed doubles cricket started, where after the men's singles was done, They changed it back that the singles or the mixed events or the singles events weren't going to count. So that meant the guys could play the rest of the events. So, it just, you can't really change your mind in the middle of a tournament on how you're going to run it. Either from the get-go, make the announcement, we're going to enforce the rule, or get rid of the rule.
But
Well, now wait,
they've
what-
never
what's-
enforced the rule, so
No.
what's the reason for the rule? That's what I want to know.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
well,
I don't actually know the reason for the rule. So if
What-
anyone does know,
I don't understand. What's the problem with changing the rules of a tournament after the tournament's begun?
you're
Why
set up
isn't
with
that a good
partners.
thing?
You're set up with partners, I don't know. It cuts into. Actually, here's the bad thing. There were so many women that weren't going to be able to play then Saturday night. Do you know how? Can I say intoxicated?
Sure.
Well,
Do you know how much partying may have gone on with the women players more than normal if they didn't have an event to play Saturday night? Plus, that stinks to be at a dart tournament and not be able to play in an event Saturday night.
yeah. Well,
Yeah, I'm
that's
ranting.
We've no. I mean, we've talked about, that's one of the good things about the NWDS and the long format tournaments is you go to a tournament and you actually get to play, as opposed
Right.
to sitting around and trying to find something else to do.
Right.
Which
and
kind of
that's-
stinks when your friends are playing and you're just sitting there.
Yeah.
Gee, what do I do now? I mean, that's
At
no
the beginning
fun.
of the day, the mixed events were going to count for the men. And then they changed it and said, okay, now the mixed events aren't going to. But unfortunately, they had already made the announcement that it was. So, some of us got another mixed partner for the second mixed event and signed up with them. And then they made it so, nope, you can play now because the mixed events aren't going to count. Well,
Why did they change their mind?
because so many people complained. So many people complained.
Well,
So,
so they changed the rules basically twice in the same tournament once the tournament began.
oh yeah, so
They had
Well,
they
they
had well
enforced
let me
the
see if
rule
let me
for
see
the
if I can
first time.
sum this up. They had a rule that everybody knew about, but everybody knew was never enforced.
Ever.
Then they decided to enforce it after the tournament began, and then once people complained, they decided not to enforce it again.
absolutely.
After the
All
tournament
right,
was already
who's
going.
running this thing?
That's a good
I mean,
question.
if I want to send a letter saying that
Do you really want to start that question?
I mean, I can't give anybody a grammar school education over the show, but who would I give it to?
Here's my thing. I thought this
Who's
was
in
a
charge? Who does
state
this?
Tournament, an Illinois state tournament.
Well, now
But
wait a minute.
then-
You say it's an Illinois state tournament, but it's not run by the state of Illinois. Who's it run by?
I don't know if it's ran by Arachnid or by the state because
Well, no. Now the state of Illinois
not-
does not run a tournament.
no, ICMAO.
Okay, so ICMAO is a vendor,
Okay,
is it?
they're the Illinois Coin and Operating.
Okay, so you're
Machines.
talking about you're talking about like
Whatever it is.
a machine, somebody who owns a lot of machines is running a tournament, right? And they just decided, hey, this is the Illinois state tournament because we said so.
And they have then the Arachnid staff who volunteer to run their brackets for them.
Volunteered to run the brackets
So
for
it really
them.
isn't an Arachnid tournament. It's the ICMAO tournament that Arachnid volunteers to run the brackets.
That
out
they
of the,
chose
out of the
to
goodness
name.
of their heart.
Yes.
I mean, they volunteer their time and they run over there and they're not compensated in any way, shape, or form. It's not like their machines are going to get used or anything like that. Because
Right.
these were all medalist machines you guys
Right.
were playing on, right?
No, I think it was Darts Live.
They were all Darts Live machines.
No, not really.
Oh, not really.
Yeah, they were G3s.
Oh, so
Yeah.
Arachnid by just volunteered to come over while they
Yeah.
ran the machine on Arachnid boards.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you know
Well,
how many quarters I went
I have
through?
an opinion on that.
Do you know how many quarters I went through personally myself
Can
this
we
weekend?
hear your opinion?
I went through $45
Well,
in quarters myself.
And I have made this comment and gotten a lot of grief for it, where I'm of the opinion that most soft tippers can't count. And, I say that, facetiously because, a lot of soft tippers who play 01 on a soft tip board, when they play it on steel, they have problems. Because it's not the same, you don't shoot at the same stuff. I mean, we all know that. I just tease them about that. But, you're talking about, you made the final of the 4-person event, or the women's 4-person, the 4-women event, whatever.
4-person women's
The
event
4-person women's event.
on Friday.
And
was-
after you deducted your entry fee and the quarters that you spent in getting to the final,
They made less than $10 a person.
which is like not even as much as a crack whore on a slow night,
Right.
So, and then I asked you
Which
the
that I'm
obvious
not sure
question.
you can
Okay,
say.
so you didn't make anything. obviously the people that won made more than you, but then everyone else who played lost money. So
Exactly.
who won in that event? It's like whoever's collecting the quarters won.
Probably the bartenders, the
See, this is what I don't understand. I mean,
machines.
it's like all the money in every dart tournament you go to, all the revenue comes from the players. Every single dime. It comes from your quarters, it comes from your entry fees. It's not the tournament staff that is like, giving bar receipts, it's the players.
And
Right.
here's
Every
another-
single dime of revenue at a dart tournament comes from the players. And yet the players have almost no say whatsoever until you start a riot at tournament control. And in midstream, they change the rules. And then in midstream, they change them again. I mean, it
But
seems
you're better
to
off
me,
not traveling. You're better off staying at home and going to the local bar because that's all you're doing anyway is drinking and putting
Well,
quarters in your machine.
I want to know. I want to know how hard up people are to play tournaments that they would put up with this year after year after year. I've heard
Right.
more complaints about this Illinois State tournament, like it's in a wind tunnel and la di da di da
It wasn't at the wind tunnel this year. It was
Oh.
on the cement
on the
floor.
cement pond or
Yeah, it was on the cement. Yeah, I don't, roller skating rink. That's
Oh.
what it reminds me of.
a roller skating rink.
Yeah, the cement floor from the roller because it was shiny and
Oh, you mean like
Shin
that, like
splints.
sealed,
yeah,
slippery?
shin splints.
Nice.
Throw your hip out, kind of.
Right.
So a good time was had by all, and it
Oh,
was
we
a
had a great
wonderful
time.
darting experience. Well,
We had
yeah.
a great time.
Apparently, you guys will have a good time no matter what happens.
Well, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, but it shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't
No,
be
it
like,
shouldn't.
okay, regardless of the knuckleheads running this tournament, by golly, we're here and we're going to have a good time. That's where
Sure.
these guys who are horrible at tournaments make out like bandits. Because everybody goes there, has a good time, and then they forget about it and they come back the next year and nothing ever changes. I mean, that's what I don't get. And this ties into some other stuff that is bugging me today. Now you said something about you weren't even sure who's running the tournament, whether it was an Arachnid tournament or it wasn't an Arachnid tournament. And then you said somebody got like their picture taken down because they had a non-Arachnid logo on their shirt. Is that true?
Yeah, I believe that's true. I believe someone in my chat room had a different logo on them.
I mean, what's going to happen at the Bullshooter in Chicago if a bunch of people just put stickers for Sheltie and Medalist and Darts Live all over the Arachnid boards? What's going to happen if somebody does that?
well, we're probably
Look-
going to be kicked out.
Well, don't they have to catch you?
Right.
Well, that's true.
I mean, I don't understand why people put up with it. I
So,
really honestly
that
do
does
not
bring up
get
a
it.
good point, though. So you get your picture taken for winning an event.
Right.
So what if my shirt does have something besides Arachnid, like Darts
Well, you said it
Live or
wasn't an Arachnid
Sheltie?
tournament.
Yeah, see, that's what I don't
Now,
understand.
it should be on the flyer that, if it says on the flyer, and this is like not a binding contract, but if it says on the flyer, no logos from other manufacturers will be allowed, and in advance. I've seen this in tournaments
Right.
on TV in England where guys literally take a piece of masking tape and have to tape over the sponsor on their shirt because they don't have another shirt. And the sponsors
not
aren't
allowed.
allowed. But
Right.
everybody knows that if you go to the
Well,
Winmaw
exactly.
tournament, you can't have like unicorn on your shirt because they're a competition for Winmaw. They both make boards. I don't see any problem with that. I don't see, look, if Arachnid's sponsoring the tournament and Arachnid's putting in money, right? And all the Arachnid sponsored players are there because Arachnid sponsors how many players? 3,000? Oh, wait, no, they don't sponsor anyone. And here you got a guy like
was
Scotty
trying to
Kirchner who's
think.
not allowed to show up, even though it's technically not an Arachnid tournament, and yet it is an Arachnid tournament. So these guys manage it. This is exactly what the BDO does, and all the players let these guys get away with it. Where the BDO is like, and the WDF will say on one side of their mouth, well, we're independent, and the BDO is just, part of our organization. Then on the other side of their mouth, they're like, but any rule the BDO makes, you have to follow in the WDF.
Right.
Now,
So
how
they're
did that
really not
happen?
independent.
No, they're not. And they
even
lie
close.
to everybody, and everybody just sort of nods their heads and just, oh, gee, well, I did want to play this weekend. I guess I'll put up with it. And nobody
Mm-hmm.
ever does anything about it. Right? And the reason that this bugs
No
me,
Twitter alert? I don't know. Okay.
the reason this bugs me is because the way darts is in America, everybody's on their own. Like the
Yeah.
Bullshooter is in Chicago, in a month? Something like
Yeah.
that, Memorial Day
Memorial
weekend.
Right.
Okay. Is it the NDA that's next week? Starts next week in Vegas.
Yes, starts this coming Friday, 19th, and it runs through the next Saturday.
And what is that? No darts allowed. What does NDA stand for?
National Darters Association.
Yeah, well, that's what they call themselves. But it's
Yeah.
actually an association for vendors who make machines, as I recall. However, I'm not going to reiterate all that stuff. I'll get to this. Let's take a break. I don't even know how to do a break on this thing.
I was
now.
going to
See, we
ask you
can't-
about
Do you want
that.
me just to put like a white piece of paper in front of the camera so you can't see?
I don't know what we're going to do. I guess we could kill the sound and
Yeah.
or just go no breaks. I don't know.
Oh.
We haven't used this thing in over a year. It doesn't.
Did we
look
not
like
used
it
to take
works
breaks
very good.
before with this thing?
I don't remember what we did. I honestly don't remember how
Unless
we
you
did
stopped the
anything.
broadcast for.
No, then I'm going to have to. No, we can't do that.
Okay.
We'll just have to keep going. All right, here's the source of my concern, and there's something else that came out today. Now, okay, so here you have a poorly run tournament by whoever's running the tournament, which is basically unaccountable to the players. They'll host it again next year, and the players either will come or they won't. And it seems to me the players will come partly out of habit, partly because they don't have any other options.
Exactly.
Every on the steel side, all these ADO tournaments that are run like you were running the Indianapolis tournament for a while, all these tournaments are basically self-contained, on their own, independent operations.
Raise our own money throughout the year.
Right, and every individual tournament is kind of in the same boat insofar as they can pretty much do whatever they want. It'll get sanctioned if they send the money to the ADO. We've said that before. Like the ADO will sanction a tournament if you literally have to stand in a moat on a canoe, and there's a doghouse around the dartboard, and you have to throw
How
it
do you
through the
stand
dart.
in a moat on a canoe?
Well,
I know, that was-
the canoe's
that was a
in the
visual.
moat.
Yeah.
So here's what you do.
It was a
you
visual.
step
Yeah.
over the edge of the moat into the canoe.
Okay.
Get your balance, throw 3 darts, step out of the canoe, walk to the board, duck under the doghouse,
Okay, I got it.
grab
Are
your
there
3
alligators
darts.
in the moat?
I hope not,
Probably.
because I think that'd be a liability issue.
All right.
And then you grab your darts, and then you walk back. Then you probably are not allowed to step on the canoe coming back because the other player might be there.
You have to
so
go
you have to
across the
step
bridge.
over the canoe.
Yes.
Oh, well, maybe there's a bridge
You
in
have to
between.
use the bridge.
Anyway, the ADO will sanction that if you give
It's
them the
guarded
money.
by a
Right.
dragon.
At any rate, that's the ADO's notion of sanctioning, and we all know that that's a bunch of garbage. And I have a feeling that, now that there's an alternative, that you're going to see a lot of people saying, you know what, we don't need to put up with this.
Right.
I think
That's
the
what you
best,
want.
the best thing for soft tip darts would be for somebody who really knew how to run a tournament to run a tournament the same weekend in the same city as some of these other tournaments that are ripping everybody off, and let's just give the players a choice.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to me whenever players have a choice, things get better. Now on the soft tip side, I'm not sure it's happened yet. I mean, I see a lot of petty stuff. I see a lot of petty, we're going to ban you, we're not going to ban him, and all this other stuff, which is the same thing that the BDO is doing with the efforts that we have here with the North American Championship Tour. They're banning those people, but if you play PDC events in Scandinavia, they're like, okay, no problem.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So they're actively discriminating against us, which I've said, look, there's under no circumstances can you support organizations that discriminate against Americans. And here's the American Dart Organization, which is like, oh, well, yeah, it's okay. We don't mind.
Right.
Here's
Because
the
the
here's the
reason-
WDF saying, well, we don't do that. But of course they do because they enforce PDC rules.
Yeah.
And then you talk to some of the higher-ups, and they're like, oh, well, yeah, there's something in the works. There's something in the works.
No, there's not.
There's something in the works.
Not a
Look,
chance.
if you look at these people's bylaws, what they basically say is we can do anything we want at any time we want, and you can go kiss off.
Mm-hmm.
That is what they say, okay? These are horrible organizations for players. Now, the ADO modeled itself after the BDO 25 years ago maybe and has never saw any reason to change.
Right.
Here's a perfect example is that if you're a dart player and you belong to the ADO, you don't get to vote on who's the president, vice president, treasurer, area manager. You have no vote. It wasn't until last year that they let regional directors vote. It used to be 15 people decided on which 15 people would run it. So guess
Okay.
who ran it? Be the same 15
The same
people.
15 people that you're
right? BDO is the same way. Okay, now the one saving grace, and the only reason that I even have any enthusiasm about tournaments anymore, is the North American Championship Tour, because here's a chance to do it right. Here's a chance to say, okay, we've seen all the mistakes that these other organizations have made. We've seen, like Sassy says, here's a tournament that changes its rules in midstream. Like the BDO, here's a tournament that just decides to discriminate against people because they don't like some other organization that isn't even in part of our country.
Right.
Right? This is some intramural dispute between two people who basically don't give a rat's butt about the players. They just
True.
care about themselves. And the players be damned, and the game be damned, and I'm not going to give in. And I can't believe that this guy can walk into a tavern in England and walk out alive. I just can't believe it.
But like you said, though, until you get another option.
Well,
and
again,
so now,
now here's the source of my latest concern is they published today a set of rules
Right.
for the North American Championship Tour that is basically about as silly and ridiculous and poorly written and poorly conceived document I've ever seen.
how so?
And, well, the first thing they say is it's almost like the Ten Commandments, like thou shalt honor thy father and mother, in which case your father and mother is NAPTA and some other organization, where basically, well, you can't say anything bad about us. No matter what we do, we can, walk around and, throw ink balloons at people when they're throwing, and you can't say we did anything wrong.
Right.
I mean, that's just not legally enforceable. And yet that's how they lead off their document, which is, to me, a turnoff. And then they start going through all this other stuff. And it's like, look, obviously, you can't just copy what losing organizations do. Okay? It just doesn't work that way. If you want a model of something that works, you don't pick the ADO.
Yeah.
You don't pick the BDO. You don't pick... Soft tip is different because soft tip isn't really run by organizations. They're run by people who are out to make a profit.
When you're going to do something new, though, wouldn't you want to create your own model?
Yeah. You would think what you would do is say, well, what do these guys do well? And
Right.
let's emulate that. What do these guys do badly? And
let's
let's
change it.
avoid that
Right.
like the plague. But here you are, there's like somebody just puts these rules out there. Nobody voted on them. I didn't vote on them. Who
Right.
voted on these? Where did these come from? And who are you anyway? Who are you to say, okay, oh, by the way, here are our rules? None of the players have had any say as far as like who's going to run things and who's going to govern things. Now, if you're a private organization and you're putting on a tournament, it's your responsibility, and the dart players are customers.
Correct.
And they will either play or they won't, right?
Sure.
If you're going to create for the first time, we're going to have a real tour. We're going to have, instead of all these different tournaments that are disconnected from each other, that all have their own rules, that all have their own formats, you're going to have something that's uniform. Okay? This is your chance to really say, okay, this is how we're going to run these things. This is the way things should be, and this is the best way things should be, and therefore, these are the rules everybody should follow. But when you have a rule that's written, well, there shall be no gamesmanship, and if we see any gamesmanship, well, there may be penalties, and you don't define what gamesmanship is, then...
Well, since this is the first year of this, and they're just getting it off the ground, I mean, you can always make amendments to all this stuff.
Well, sure you can. Of course.
But
the idea that you would just copy this en masse from somebody who obviously hasn't read their own document and say, oh, by the way, here's our rules, la-di-da-di-da. And now it's like we're going to throw it on Facebook and, okay, well, now that here's our rules, if you have any suggestions, please send them, is like a totally half-assed way to do something. The way you do something is you get together like the 5 best tournament players that understand stuff like this, and you say, okay, we're going to create some rules. What do you think? What about this rule? What about that rule? You send emails back and forth. You discuss it. You come up with a general framework, and then you start getting more specific. And then once it's ready for public comment, you say, oh, by the way, these are the rules we're proposing. What do you guys
that would
think
make
of
sense.
them?
Sure.
But they don't do it that way.
No.
Because their model is to have somebody who thinks they're pope of this dump saying, oh, by the way, I'm head bozo on the bus, and here are the new
Right.
rules. Knock yourselves
And
out.
everybody must follow them.
If you read them, they can't be enforced and they can't be followed because they're not delineated. No gamesmanship. Okay. Well, what about this guy who's 5 minutes to the board? Is that gamesmanship or was he in the bathroom?
Right.
Well, I don't know. He was 5 minutes late to the board last time too. Must be gamesmanship. $80,000 fine.
Right.
This is what their rules say they can do.
Yeah.
They can do anything they want. I mean, it's absolutely what's going to happen is if this is the way things are going to run, they're going to end up like the ADO, where everybody's going to be like, I forget that. I'm not going to do that. You have to get the players to buy in to what you are doing, especially if it's something new. Like obviously, Sassy goes to this tournament. It's run horribly. From everything I've heard, this tournament was a total disaster.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, tournament stinks, but let's have some fun. We're here for the weekend anyway.
Yeah, you're already there. But it's just a matter of whether you go back next year.
Well, again, this is the difference between the serious players and the players that are just out to have some fun, right? You can have fun in the parking lot. You don't even have to go into the tournament.
Don't go
I
to the
don't
tournament.
understand these people that go to the bullshooter on Memorial Day weekend and spend, I don't know, between the hotel and if they're flying and food and beverages and entry fees and quarters, it might cost them $700-800 a piece to play that tournament. You could go on like 4 Carnival cruises.
Right.
Apparently, they're pretty cheap right now.
Oh, that's
and from what I hear, if the Carnival cruise is bad, they'll
refund your
give
money
you another
and give
one.
you another one.
Hey, this thing is so bad. By golly, come back again.
Right. And
what
here's
is-
your money back.
What is that? When did the American consumer become so radically idiotic that no matter what you do, everybody's just like, yeah, okay. I mean, remember how it used to be? You'd get somebody on the phone and you'd complain. Now it's voicemail. Nobody wants to hear your complaints. Nobody cares.
Well, then you just
Right?
assume you're like, well, this one was so bad, I get a free trip. It can't be nearly. There's no way it could be that bad again. So let's try it again.
Well,
It's like banging your head into a brick wall.
To be honest with you, there are some people that have profited enormously from this sort of thing. There are people that I assume on the soft tip side, on the manufacturer's side, who get like 19 cents of every quarter you put in.
They're making
making out like bandits.
Yeah.
Like she's getting sub-crack whore wages for coming in second in an event. The winners are getting
Escort.
probably.
They're getting escort wages.
Well, whatever. I mean, but who's raking it in?
That's what I mean. Yeah.
And it's like you run this horrible tournament, and you end up making 50 times what the players do.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the flyer of this tournament. How many people can even break even at a soft tip tournament?
2.
The way they have it structured. Honestly.
Right.
I mean, I go to plenty of steel tournaments, and believe me, I have to play my butt off to break even. But I usually, come close. If I have to fly, then obviously I got to win more than I would if I drive.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
But at least you have a chance. If you look at any steel tournament, okay, as long as you're not flying to it, you got a reasonable chance of breaking even if you can play.
Yeah. Oh,
right?
sure.
I mean,
absolutely.
because the fields are brutal. There's lots of great players out there. Once you start talking about airfare, I mean, my gosh, you got to basically make 2 top 4s in the singles or win the doubles and the triples and whatever. I mean, you do
Depending
the math.
on where you're flying to.
Do
sure.
the math when you look at this flyer. I looked at the bullshooter flyer and I laughed. I'm like, why would anybody go to this tournament? I mean, there's not even that many events I can play because I'm a AA pro according to them. Although they took it off a list that they don't understand.
Right.
Right? And there are plenty of lists that they ignored. So, I mean, pretty much.
No, it seems like a waste of a weekend to me. To go and spend your time.
I did promise somebody I'd play with them, too.
Did you really?
I'm like, yeah, if you're going to fly to Chicago and you need a pro, by golly, I'll stand next to you. You're a buddy of mine. I'll play with you. But I just walking
Now you hope
in,
he doesn't show up?
Well, he's a nice guy. I mean, I like playing with him. I mean, it's just I live here.
Yeah.
I mean, if only the bullshooter moved somewhere else where I would then never even have to even worry about it.
Wouldn't
I mean,
even
I
have
could
to consider
literally
it?
take the subway there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I have I probably get there easier than almost anybody in the hall, and I just am like, why am I bothering
waste
with
my
this?
time?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's silly, and here they are. You talk about plagiarism, like here's the they're ripping off the DRA, the Darting Regulation Authority, which I don't know, somebody decided he was going to write up some rules and had no legal training whatsoever. And it's like, oh, here's the rules. I mean, it's kind of silly. Everybody kind of knows what gamesmanship is and stuff like that. But if you're not going to have rules that specifically go into stuff like this, I don't know what you're going to have at all. You're going to, okay, somebody accuses you of gamesmanship, and now you're going to go in front of a board. Like, from what I can tell right now, the only people involved in this are two people from Canada. So how are the Canadians telling us, how to run
with the rules?
darts and,
with writing the rules?
Yeah, with the organization that published them. I
Okay.
think they're two Canadians. I mean, so what? The Americans don't count? Is that how it works?
Pretty much.
I mean, I don't understand, and this is new stuff, and I'm not happy with this sort of a process, and I'm sure it's going to get better. But the PDC event, there's one coming up in June in Chicago. Everybody knows what the PDC rules are. They're published in advance. They send you something. Okay, by the way, here are the rules. But they're more concerned with what you wear and what you don't wear, and make sure you have the proper shoes, as opposed to like, oh, by the way, you can't be talking stuff to the guy when he's at the line and you're walking back, right? To just say, oh, there's no gamesmanship, you can't say that. Who's to
Too
say
vague.
Well, yeah, it's totally
Yeah.
too vague, and by definition, anything that vague can't be enforced. So now you basically have a rule book that doesn't count. But they go in depth about cricket, and I'm like, we don't play cricket at any of these events. What do you? So basically, they just took somebody else's rule book and wrote
And
like
made it theirs.
wrote like something for cricket and said, okay, here's our rules. Next time, if you're going to plagiarize, the first rule of plagiarizing is read it first.
Right.
Make sure you know what you're plagiarizing. Okay? Who
You're not-
knows? You could make it better.
Plagiarizing an F.
Well, yeah, and so now here's like Arachnid plagiarizing a steel tip board, right? They now have a board that if you flip it around, it's the same size as a steel board.
Oh, really? Okay.
Only you're going to stand, I assume, you're going to stand 2.5, 3 inches further back.
Right.
Because the soft tip line is 8 feet, although,
13-inch board.
yeah.
Yeah.
Is that what they're calling it? The
That's it.
13. So they
That's
call it a
13-inch board.
13-inch board. They don't say, oh, by the way, here's a rip-off of a steel board. They say, oh, no, we have a 13-inch board. Because what probably happened is somebody from Arachnid threw a dart at a board, hit a 13, and said, let's make a 13-inch board. It's only a coincidence that it's the same circumference as a steel
Right.
board. I'm sure of that. I'm sure they wouldn't deliberately, try
It's a good
to,
thing he
like-
didn't hit the 6.
I
All
don't
of a sudden, you're going to have a
understand.
6-inch board.
I don't understand what these people are thinking, honestly,
Well,
half the time.
But for the Arachnid tournaments, they use the Steel ADO rankings. The top 50 are automatically placed up, regardless if you ever played soft tip or not. So, Steel, and that's how they tie it together that way.
Okay. Well, I don't think they understand what the ADO rankings are and how inaccurate they are and how they're actually manipulated and stuff like that. But I don't think it would matter to them. I think what matters to them is like they don't want steel players coming in and beating on people. Right? Like
Yeah.
I'm a double A soft tip
Right.
pro. I play once a year, if that.
Yeah, they don't want you coming
I
in.
don't
And,
know. What are they worried
they
about?
don't want you being one of the 2 people that actually make money at the tournament.
But I live in Chicago. They should be backing me. Maybe
Yeah,
I could
sure.
be an Arachnid player. What does an Arachnid player look like? I mean, I've seen the Darts Live players. What would an Arachnid player look like? He would
I'd like to
have
have
like.
my own disclaimer comment.
I mean, honestly, what would an Arachnid player look like?
I'm not going to
That'd be
comment on
some
that.
good. Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, let's see. Maybe they'll sponsor somebody, and then you'll know.
Oh, who would be a good person? Scotty
Well,
Kirchner
don't you
would
just
be a
have to
good
go on-
guy for
you
Arachnid
just have to go on
sponsor.
the-
He's won so many of their events, and I'm sure that he's probably asked them every year for 15 years for them to sponsor him. But actually, they probably sponsor somebody even better, right?
Okay.
Like, because the Arachnid players are the best players in the country, right?
Sure. Why would you say that?
Who do they sponsor again?
Absolutely nobody.
Who? Helen Keller, Stevie Wonder. Who else do they sponsor? Because Helen Keller, she's
she can
dead,
throw a mean dart.
but she's dead. They can't
Can't say
sponsor her.
Yeah, she's gone. You can't.
She's
say
gone.
that.
Stevie Wonder.
Yeah.
Jeff Healy's gone too, right?
Is he?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I don't know. But I find this kind of remarkably ignorant in so many ways, and I kind of put my finger on it that what you basically have on the steel side is different from the soft tip side, simply because the soft tip people, the people that run soft tip, at least they have a goal. Their goal is to make money. Their goal is to maximize their profits. Their goal is to get as many quarters in that machine as is humanly possible.
Of course.
And the more people that go to their tournaments, the more they've achieved their goal.
Mm-hmm.
What you, as a consumer, get for that, I don't know, because I don't play enough soft tip, and I know a lot of people enjoy it. And I don't have anything against soft tip players. I really don't. And, there are many fine players, and everybody's a dart player. If you choose to play soft tip for whatever reason, because you like it, you started out that way, there's no steel by you, whatever the reason may be is fine with me.
Sure.
I do not understand, though, how you let people get away with some of the stuff I see. You let people get away with banning people. You let people get away with manipulating the standings, where if you're a pro from Canada, you get to play as an amateur, and if you're a pro from America, you don't. And then the Canadian pro wins last year, and nobody asked for a refund, who was an amateur. I mean, I would be literally are you kidding me? You rigged your own event.
Yeah.
Not only do I want my money back, but I want punitive damages. I should take you to court and say you did this on purpose, because you're probably cutting with that guy. You're probably splitting with the Canadian. And I know Dave Cameron. No way on earth that would happen. But prove that you're not. So if you're incompetent enough that you don't know that there are pros in Canada playing darts, or you don't know that there are pros in England, then I don't know how you even got your job. And whoever hired you is obviously got issues. But, as long as people keep pumping in the quarters, nothing will change.
No, not at all.
That's the... Oh, okay. So, wow, I'm getting interrupted by the chat room girl?
You talk a lot.
Well, then you got to pick up the mic.
Hold on.
That's the rule.
So is 888 in Japan, is it a division of Arachnid?
I haven't the slightest idea.
I don't either, but we're getting a reply here that Johnny K was sponsored by 888.
There wasn't
from
just Johnny
Japan.
K. It was, there were a few guys.
Yeah,
There-
and
yeah.
apparently they're a division of Arachnid, a division in Japan.
Oh, so an Arachnid division sponsored some players.
From Japan.
Well, not from Johnny's, from Pennsylvania. That's on the
Oh.
other side of the planet
Oh,
from
okay,
Japan.
so I get, okay, so.
No, they did have a deal.
Arachnid,
They
yeah.
actually were going to Japan and promoting darts
Right.
in Japan, and they were doing it for a while.
So
And
that's-
it was more than one person. I thought it was Scotty Kirchner, and it was Johnny K, and it was I can't remember who else. So there were 3 or 4 guys that were doing that. They kind of stopped playing steel and started promoting darts in Japan. For the players, I think it's great. I
That
got
is great.
grief. I got grief about calling that Darts Live thing.
Exhibition? Or what?
Yeah, guys were sort of took umbrage. I called it an exhibition.
Right.
I'm like, well, what else would you call it? It's not an open event.
No.
It's like you can't call the Wendy's Tour Challenge the same thing as the U.S. Open. They're not the same.
Right.
You want to watch it? You enjoy watching it? Knock yourself out. It's great for the players, right?
I
I'm all
agree.
for it.
Yeah.
Here's Darts Live. Here you have the companies in America that make dartboards basically trying to suck every quarter from everybody they can. And here you have Darts Live actually being like, oh, not only do we not want your quarters, we'll put up 38 grand for you to come and play in this one tournament. Let's see Arachnid put 38 grand of their own money into anything.
No, that wouldn't happen.
Let's see Arachnid put in 50 grand in this bullshooter and say, you know what, we're going to kick 10,000 to the winner of these 5 events. Let's see them do that. Then they'd get more respect from
Well,
me.
yeah. Plus, they'd get more players, you would think, and they'll get more quarters.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's kind of a law of supply and demand.
Right.
Look, if you're in a business, I have no problem with you trying to maximize your profit. I have a problem with the consumers letting people get away with murder. That's what I have a problem with. I don't care if, the guy who runs Arachnid's a millionaire. He deserves whatever he gets. But the players can't complain that they made the guy rich and he's not doing what they asked him
Right.
to do. Right? Because the amateurs don't stick around long enough to be organized. Because what will happen is the amateurs will play 2-3 years, get on the pro list, and disappear for 3 years. Right? So they're part-timers. So then you got new suckers coming. Well, I'm sorry, don't mean suckers. You have new recreational players coming in, and it's fun, and so they do it, and then eventually they stop, and then other people come in and do it, and then it's a revolving door. Whereas the pros who have been around and seen everything are shunted off to the side to the point where, I don't know, 2 years ago it's like 20 of them.
Right.
right? Playing for, I don't know, 16 of them are going to be out of the money. I mean, it's kind of like, are you kidding me?
Would you?
Venus de Milo.
Would you like to take a break?
One of my favorite chalkers. Would I like to take a break? How are we going to take a break?
Well, I figured
The
you might at
camera's
least
running
want
and
to take a
everything?
pause and mention our sponsors,
Oh,
even though we can't.
we're
Stop.
just what a mess.
Can we play a song or something?
Can we play? Yeah, you know what? I'll tell you what. I will play a song, and we'll go away from the screen for a little bit, and then we'll let everybody take a little break, and we'll let Steve cool off, and we'll see if that really works, because I really doubt that it will. But okay, so we'll play some Waylon Jennings, and we'll be Wailing Jennies, and we'll be right back.
Yeah, poor Venus.
I want to be healthy. So to me, that's diet, exercise, relaxation. But I want to.
The mics are live, by the way, in
That's
case
what
you're.
our chat room.
All right, so we'll be back in a minute.
I love my chat room, by the way.
It's the best chat.
Best chat room.
When it rains, snows in this prairie town, there's a good 3 inches on the ground. It seems I'm losing any peace I found. I see your face all over this town, but I know you're nowhere to be found. You're far away, safe and sound. Far from this prairie town. You're far from this prairie town. So leaving seems the thing to do. When I'm here, I'm lost in thoughts of you. In my dreams, I'm sitting by you. When you ask me to come to you, to leave these fields and these skies of blue, you know I believe in the sacred. I'm leaving this prairie town. I'm leaving this prairie town. No one's love comes close to yours. Nothing's what it was before. My eyes are heavy and my heart is sore. Leaving this prairie town. Leaving this prairie town. When it rains and snows in this prairie town, we just watch it fall to the ground and wait for love to come around. So ask me in that way you do. I'll leave these fields and I'll come to you. You can watch my heart as it breaks into. Leaving this prairie town.
Who do you think?
Oh.
I don't have it. Did you see one other person?
I gave it to you. You put it in my pocket, so I don't know.
Okay, here's the way the system works. Let's say you pay your guy around 2% to manage your money. That's not much, you think, except it's 2% every year. Does that make a difference? Search cost.
Which way you have? I gave it back. It's in your pocket.
Take everything that we have, take it and burn it to the ground. Some things are never meant to last.
Okay, and we're back. Dart Talk brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. Also, many thanks, Windy City Fabricators and Redwood Darts.
We have no quarters today.
We have no quarters today.
Right. There's enough
there's
quarters
there's
going
enough quarters in
going
the
in the
conversation.
machines that we don't have any quarters.
So what is this,
For
the
the
second
show.
period?
Yeah.
Or the
no, it's just the
second half?
continuation of
Wait
the
a minute.
show.
Continuation?
Since you guys are talking about money, hey, if you want to give me some money, I'll put some money on the roulette table for you.
Oh, on
try
13?
And, try and run the 13 again.
Try to
But
run
you
the
know
13?
what? I'm going to back it up.
Yeah, you back it up. I'm going to back it up.
Yeah, and then you guess what? You're probably gonna lose.
Winner, right here.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Yeah, I did get a couple of interesting emails. I won't respond to all of them because I have some pride.
All right.
But there was one interesting point was about the pace of play among the people playing at the Darts Live. Now,
As in fast or slow?
well, apparently extremely slow. Now, Sassy, you said that you watched it. Did you notice anything? Were they overtly kind of slow playing in that thing?
It wasn't slow play. I mean, while they were playing the match, it was not a slow play. I think what they're probably talking about is they do take breaks. During the Super Darts,
not what they were talking
they took
about.
breaks. Well, I didn't see slow play.
They're talking about these guys that go up to the line, look at the board, then do like this like little phantom throw where they kind of like, kind of like rehearse their dart.
Yeah.
Then they get there and then they look at it.
Oh my, I
and
slow
then they
play every
throw.
time then.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I do.
Do soft tippers have a tendency to?
Do you know why I do a phantom
I don't know if
shot?
it's
Way
I don't know
slower?
if it's a soft tip thing or not. If you look at and I can understand the reason that people would play slow, and I did ask somebody about it, and I think what he told me was like, well, he doesn't always do it, but he finds that if there's a lot of pressure or something, then he'll go slower and he'll take his time. The problem with that is it makes it less watchable. If you watch the guys in England that have made, darts a prime time, must-see sporting event.
Right.
3 or 4 nights a week some nights, or some months, right? Because they do the Premier League on Thursday, and then they'll do tournaments and stuff like that, and they'll run, I don't know how many matches. The World Championships run for like 3 weeks, and it's on every single night. It's like fast break basketball. I mean, it's
Right.
just score after score after score after score, and then you get to a finish. And then when they play sets, it's score after score after score after score. And all of a sudden, it's the fifth leg, and oh my God, if I miss this double, I lose the set,
Yeah.
right? Kind of like in tennis. And it changes the dynamic, but I've never seen anybody slow to a complete stop over and over and over again. And I'm not sure if you want to sell darts as a viewing experience. I know as fans, we want to follow it over the internet and stuff like that, and we want to see as much as we can. But if you want to start introducing people to the sport, they're not going to stand for that.
Right. You want
They're
it
not
more
gonna-
like fast
yeah.
break,
I
fast
mean,
break
if you
basketball.
remember, ESPN used to show a lot of pool, and
Yeah,
eventually
they
all
did.
they did was show the women, right? Because you'd look at the guys and you'd just be like two guys playing pool, but some of the women were a little more glamorous and
Right.
stuff like that, and for some reason, there seemed to be more of a contrast in styles among the women pool players. You had like the Black Widow, who was like kind of tall and lanky, dark hair, wore that funny glove, and then you had like the English woman, the snooker player, who was like just beating the bejesus out of everybody.
Yeah, I do
including-
actually
including
remember
one.
that. Yeah.
And it was kind of interesting watching the two of them play.
Mm-hmm.
One was a little more emotional, one was a little more reserved, one was tall, one was short, one was blonde, one was dark haired. I mean, it was kind of an interesting battle to see. I get the impression sometimes that some of the like dart players want everybody to be the same. Like I get ribbed a lot for the hair and everything, but I mean honestly, how many bald guys you want to watch?
Right.
You know what I mean?
It depends.
Well, I'm just saying. I think there's room for character
Sure.
in darts, and there's room for variety, but I don't think there's any room for slow play.
No, I would
I
agree
don't
with
want to
that.
go slow play though. I've been playing for 20 years, and I've always taken that practice shot, and that's just the way that I throw.
Okay,
So-
but what you're doing
But
is
if you want me to speed up and throw fast, oh, forget it.
Well, you have to practice.
you have to. I
I'm not
talked to
gonna
Dennis
stand at
Smith
home
about
and
this.
practice, fast darts.
No, I understand. To be honest with you, I mean, I talked to Dennis Smith about this, and he was one of the very slower British guys. And what he told me is he's like, look, don't listen to what anybody says. You play at the speed that's best for you and tell everybody, But then everybody knows this one American who literally will take 3 minutes at the line every turn.
Well, now
And
that's
okay,
excessive.
That's excessive. So, I mean, you have to draw the line somewhere. And I wasn't accusing anybody because I didn't even watch it, but we did get an email, and it was fairly detailed about how
See, I didn't
if
think
you
it was
want
slow
to.
play. I
Well, you're
didn't.
used to it. As steel players, you don't see it much.
Not at all, really.
Well, you really don't.
Yeah.
I mean, there's advantages and disadvantages. The advantage to playing fast is that you don't have time to, think, which for some people like me is a good thing.
Right.
Right?
Can cause problems.
When you play slow, you have time to kind of mess yourself up in that, but you also have more time to compose yourself. And if that's the way you need to play your best darts, I would say yes, play that way. However, if I'm a TV guy and I'm trying to put on darts on TV, I mean, look at poker. Poker is basically 15 hours of guys
Right.
sitting there fiddling with their chips and folding.
But they can
You
cut it
can't
down to a
show
minute.
that.
No, not at all.
That's not watchable. That's not TV. So you have to cut it to the point where something actually happens. So we're going to do a dart match where you cut out all these phantom darts, and then eventually
sudden you're on
there's gonna
double
be-
20.
Well, no, you're going to have two guys that do this and do this and do this, and eventually, you know what you're going to get? Oh, and so played, and here's the winning dart, and boom, on to the next match. That's watchable,
Right.
right? I mean, you have no choice. I mean, you have when you're trying to televise something, time matters. Not like this show where apparently time just
No.
stands still and
Yeah.
we just start when we start. But I mean, you have to start at 7. Look at the Super Bowl or look at the NCAA championship tip off 5:25. They've got it down to the second because they're selling seconds.
Sure.
30 seconds is $1 million or whatever the ad
Right.
fee is, right? This stuff is all mapped out. Now you're talking about taking darts to the next level, which is live TV. What are you going to see? You really want to see a guy just standing around scratching
Well,
his head
no,
because he
but in
doesn't know
effect,
what to throw
they
at,
would-
or oh my God,
No, but
what-
it's
what-
just like anything else. I mean, they're going to show the people that throw fast. Like, say you're playing in a tournament, and then if the slow player that they haven't really shown, but they just kind of show has gone through the bracket, ends up in the finals. It's kind of like when the World Series ends up between Pittsburgh and
Don't say it.
Seattle.
Don't say it.
Don't
Pittsburgh
say
and
it.
Seattle.
He would never say it. He wouldn't say it.
No,
Well,
it would be then all of a sudden the networks are upset because it's small market teams,
Right.
but they have to show it. So eventually,
But then but they're established. They can survive 1 year because the next year they might get the Yankees or the Red Sox or
Right.
the Angels or the Dodgers or the Cardinals.
Right.
I mean, the Cardinals get good ratings.
Yeah.
East Coast, West Coast, whatever. They don't really want the Midwest, but guys win sometimes.
Right.
What are you going to do? But the idea when you're starting out is you need action. You need excitement and you need action to draw in fans. I mean, how do you draw in fans? Nobody is going to pay money to watch a guy go like this and not even
do
throw
anything.
a dart.
Right.
I mean, honestly, if you watched like
Yeah,
Jack
but are you
Nicholson,
proposing that they disallow the practice, the phantom throw?
Well, no, I'm not proposing that they disallow anything. What I'm saying is, like, if people are interested in promoting the sport and making it a successful, watchable event, because with TV comes exposure and more money, and that's what everybody wants.
Okay, but just like you
Right?
stated earlier, I didn't see slow play because I'm used to it.
Well, that's you, though.
So-
You're used to it. I mean, as
Exactly. And so
somebody
we're-
new to the sport,
The other 3,000, 5,000 people who viewed it that might have been soft tip players that are also used
But
to
what
it.
I'm not sure what you're getting at. Are you
What I'm-
getting
what
at
I'm
that,
getting
that the
at
players
is-
need to change, and because they're the ones that want to promote the sport?
what this whole show has been basically about, and we've kind of been circling around the subject, is standards. What are your standards? I mean, obviously the standards for a successful tournament were met and violated by the tournament Sassy went to over the weekend. It was met on the promoter side because they got lots of quarters, and it failed miserably for the players because, everything was messed up,
Yeah.
from what you told me, right? When the way they put out these rules for the DRA, I mean, it remains to be seen, what's going to happen with that, but I'm not real happy with that. But at least they're trying to establish some standards of behavior, some standards of conduct.
They just need to clean it up a little.
Well, yeah, I think, it was too early to kind of put it out the way they did. I didn't really like it, but we did kind of say on the show last week how we needed something like that, and
Right.
boom, there it
Yeah.
is. So you'd think I'd be happy.
You would think.
I mean, these people just need to consult with me in advance. I think I would save everybody a lot of trouble and me a lot of breath. But, when it comes to, like, what is your goal? Here we have our first attempt at a cohesive tour, a cohesive series of tournaments that are going to be the same all over the country, which, to my mind, they've never really had. They sort of had it with the Lucky. Everybody talks about the Lucky Strike. When Lucky Strike was sponsoring Darts in America, and they had all these tournaments that had Lucky Strike money, but the tournaments weren't always the same.
Okay.
Right? They weren't always the same format and all this, and the format itself was kind of a joke.
Stupid.
Well, best of 3, best of 5, 301. What are you kidding me?
Yeah.
What does that prove? I mean, it's just silly. But the fact that you had all these tournaments out there, and you were moving toward a tour like the PGA Tour, right? Where you have all these independent tournaments, but they're all governed and run in a certain uniform way, which the ADO has never even tried to do. I mean, the ADO gave up on diddling. They gave up on enforcing how you diddle to start a game. I mean, it's total anarchy out there. I mean, so if the ADO isn't going to do anything, I just assume it's going to go away once people have options. No, seriously, because
Right.
I don't think they add any value. I don't see anything that they've added at all in the last 2 years, and they infuriated me personally like 3 weeks ago or whenever I was in Virginia. So, I mean, it's kind of like if that's going to be your attitude, we could do without you, pretty sure. If you look at
Well,
the
yeah.
NWDS and the North American Tour, you got the biggest tournaments, long format 01, with the most money anybody's played for, and they have no involvement with the ADO whatsoever.
Right.
What the ADO do? They did nothing.
Well, yeah. Just
So,
give it
who
a
needs
couple of
them?
years and.
Well, who needs them?
Well,
Is what I'm
right.
saying. I mean, if
I
if
agree
your
with
goal
that.
is to run quality tournaments, and if you run quality tournaments, you'll get players, and if you get players and you get the numbers, eventually whoever runs them will make a profit, and that's totally fine with me.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to go have the Sassy Higgs Invitational, and you're going to run around and get local sponsors to put up money, and you're going to go find a venue, and you're going to go get the boards and get a staff that'll run it, and you do a really good job, and it turns out that you made some money,
You deserve it.
yeah, I think you
You
earned
worked.
it. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
you earned it. And
Right.
I have no problem with that. I think on the soft tip side, it's gone in the other direction. I think in soft tip, they just assume that they're just going to get all the money, and every year, less and less to the players. What's this? You can shear a sheep many times, but you can only skin it once.
Yeah.
I think plenty of players have felt skinned by these guys, and yeah, I know that's not a real nice analogy, but well,
Okay.
and here I thought you liked skin.
You never heard that one
I had
before?
my shirt unbuttoned and everything for you.
Flowers, petals, and
Have you never heard that one before, or what?
That's an old one. Well, all I'm saying is, like, when the players start speaking in one voice is when you're really going to start seeing change.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we've seen change on the steel side, and I think you're seeing change on the soft tip side. And I think the soft tip side change has come mostly from players who are in charge now, and players who understand what players want and realize that you can do what the players want and still make a profit. I'm not sure that the other soft tip people involved ever really got that. I see them just as a bunch of guys trying to figure out some way to make more money, and then they just sort of like rationalize it to the players, and some of the players fall for it. I mean, I don't, but I think some people do. I think some of these things look like Ponzi schemes to me. Like
Yeah,
this Pearl
kind of.
vodka
Yeah.
thing looked like a Ponzi scheme to me. And the only defense, if operators have a problem with this, just show me the books and show me
Oh
how
yeah,
I'm wrong.
that'll happen.
Yeah, well,
For sure.
then just go away. I don't want to hear anything.
Right.
If I speak the truth and you don't like it, well, I don't know. Other people are speaking it too. It ain't just me.
Right.
I mean, you don't see me, playing soft tip. And to be honest, probably the best thing to do would be have new players just play on Darts Live boards for like 3 months.
Why would that be the best?
Because I'm convinced that the one thing that soft tip does better than steel ever will is give new players positive reinforcement.
All right.
I've seen so many like kind of first-year players play steel and just get absolutely frustrated because they can't hit a double.
Mm-hmm.
And then they stand there for 15 minutes, they still can't hit it, and eventually lose, and that's just not a positive
Right.
experience.
Not at all.
And not a lot of people are going to have the time or the inclination to be like, well, I'm going to go to the board at home in my garage and learn how to hit that double. I mean, that's rare, right? You want to
Yeah, I
have some
agree.
fun.
Right.
So for beginners, it's much easier to get into darts if you do it, on a board
On a soft
where
tip board.
the targets are bigger,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you get like little bells and whistles when you hit something, and you get a little,
Yeah,
white
for-
horse or whatever.
right,
Or
exactly.
now you can customize your little thing where,
Yeah.
the picture of your little kid crying comes up when you window, or however they do
Nice.
it. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, you can have some fun with this stuff, and, darts ought to be fun. If it's not fun, I don't know why anybody plays it, because it can be the most frustrating game there is, right?
Oh,
There's
sure.
not a great deal of money in it, even on the soft tip side. Everybody says soft tip's got more money. I remain unconvinced. I think the operators have more money. I don't think the players do.
Right.
I don't see the players driving around in Rolls Royces
Or BMWs.
or BMWs. I see them wearing a patch for nothing so that they can say they're wearing a patch. I mean, well, I'm not going to get on the patch thing, but we'll do that some other time.
Yeah.
It's just sort of getting kind of ridiculous to me. And I will speak on this issue at some point, but I won't do it today.
Right. Well, that's good because
No.
we're already at an hour.
I've talked. Well, are we really? I mean, I've talked about this, and again, I'm all for the players. I think what's good for the players is good for the game.
Mm-hmm.
And if you put on tournaments and you put on events that are good for the players, you'll prosper and you'll succeed. And I think if you look at, and the only soft tip tournament I see every year, even if only peripherally, is the bull shooter, and I see them shrinking. I see their turnout shrinking every year, and it's not hard for me to figure out why, right? And their latest
Well, no,
gimmick
we've already
to flip the
discussed
board
that.
and make it smaller.
Yeah.
Good luck with that. Who's
What's
that
the
helping?
purpose for that?
I don't know.
Just
No
to
idea.
make it different?
No idea. Somehow here's the psychology of the soft tip is that I think most soft tippers realize that steel is a superior game, and they never really come to grips with that because they love soft tip.
Mm-hmm.
And they want soft tip to be a superior game, and no matter what they do, it can't be, right? So now you've got to the point where now we're going to flip the board, so now I'm throwing on the same board as a steel tip thing somehow. That's the only psychology I see.
So,
Well, are the
what you're
triples and
saying is
doubles the
then
same
is that,
size?
No,
that all
they're
steel
smaller.
tip players can play very good soft
I never
tip.
said that. Those words never came out of my mouth. I said steel is a superior game.
Okay.
It's a superior test of your darting ability. Soft tip's a completely different game. The distances are different. The board's a different size. The targets are in different places. It's a completely different game. But I think if you took any top 10 steel player and had him play soft tip for a year, and then you took any soft tip player and had him play steel for a year, it'd be very interesting to see who did better.
Right.
I have my opinion.
Which
But-
we all pretty much know what that
Well,
is.
everybody thinks that they know what I think, and they're almost always wrong.
Right.
However, I do have an opinion on that, and it would be an interesting experiment. It'd be like trading places, only with darts.
Right.
Right. You
Freaky
take a guy
Friday
that
or-
never. Yeah. Exactly. Right. That would be a great dart movie where you take somebody like me and you put him in a soft tipper's body,
Right.
which means I'd probably put on weight.
Oh,
Go bald.
And wear like shirts I don't like. Oh, and go bald.
Wait a minute.
And then you take one of the bald guys that play soft tip and put him in my shoes,
Mm-hmm.
right?
and they'd still
Which-
gain weight, and they probably wouldn't grow any more hair.
Well, I don't know. I guarantee you, after about a week of being me, they'd be screaming, "I want to go back! I want
Yeah.
to go back! Click your heels."
Well, yeah,
3
especially when
times,"
they would
right.
come here and have all these problems to put the show on.
Oh my gosh.
They'd be like, "Get me
What
out
a-
of this body."
What a nightmare today was. I don't even know how we're going to fix it by next week, but
Yeah, we'll find out.
we're not going to have CRG next week.
No, we are not.
No, I'm going to be in Vegas.
Been here
Unless you
2
guys
weeks.
want me to call
2 weeks,
in.
and she's already on
Well,
vacation.
You can Skype in,
You
and
don't want that,
you can
trust
monitor
me.
the. I think it'd be
Trust
funny.
me, I don't think so. What day would that be?
Wednesday.
Wednesday?
It's the day between
Oh, no.
Tuesday
It's
and
a
Thursday.
week from today.
Oh no,
Yeah,
that's
it's a week from
no,
today.
That's a bad idea. It's a bad idea,
You got to take one for the team.
dude. This is a PG rated show.
Oh, you've already. Oh, okay.
She's already determined by
I
a week from
can't-
today she's not going to be PG.
Yes, and like I can't moderate myself. I'd have to lock myself out of the chat room. I'm just thinking.
Wow, a moderator who banned herself from the chat room.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That'd be brutal.
it would be brutal.
You got anything?
Where are you going this weekend?
Oh, that's right. The Blazing Saddles
Blazing
charity
Saddles
tournament
is
is
this
this weekend in Lexington, Kentucky. And let me tell you, that's going to be fun.
Mm-hmm.
He actually changed the format around, so there's going to be like some round robins, some long format, and I believe he did something where there's only one pro allowed on all the like 3-person teams or something. It's going to be great.
Nice.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
All right.
And the food down there is really good. The people are awesome. So yeah, that's right. I'm leaving Friday. You should come.
Have to
should
work.
I don't feel good.
Yeah. I'm sick.
I'm sick.
You just gave that away for him, so
Yeah.
And then I don't know.
Oh,
we-
they don't listen to the show.
We I had a graphic for the show, and unfortunately,
We lost
can't
all
do
that, too.
anything.
Yeah.
But that Boston Strong 617 jersey, I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I'm not a big runner. I used to run. I ran track, in high school and stuff. And just looking at that video, I'm like, what a coward.
oh yeah.
What kind of a coward?
No,
What
I
is-
agree.
What does it really take? You know what I mean? I get aggravated. I get angry about stuff, and I get frustrated and stuff. But I mean, this starts. It's not life and death.
Right.
You know what I mean? What's going on when this kind of thing happens?
No, it's ridiculous.
I really
What does it really prove? Proves nothing.
no. Well, that's what.
Well,
terror,
other than you're a coward,
That's what
like you
terror
said.
is. Terror is
Yeah.
just making people afraid.
Mhm.
That's your only goal, and then. Whoever happens to be right there, pays the ultimate
Yeah.
price. But, they're not going to, Americans aren't going to be terrorized.
No.
We'll find you. We have drones and everything now. There's nowhere you can hide. We'll find you. And then where will you be?
Well,
where you belong, hopefully.
right,
But I
yeah.
mean, I just, all the people I know, that, play around Boston, bunch of great people. Women and men alike. And, they compete and they knock heads and everybody's got issues and stuff. But, they couldn't have picked a worse city to
pick on?
not to pick on so much. They're not gonna make any headway in Boston.
Right.
Are you kidding me? Boston people? No way.
No,
they'll
not at
laugh,
all.
They'll laugh in your face.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
our thoughts and prayers are with everybody out there, though, and hopefully that thing will work out.
Oh, I'm sure it will.
Catch that guy or guys or whatever.
Well, it's only been a couple days, so
Yeah,
You know,
well,
they'll
I don't
get
know.
them.
It's depressing. Can we wrap this up?
We can wrap this up.
Make a joke or something.
So-
Let's not end on such a downer.
Good luck at the Blazing. Do they play the movie Blazing Saddles at the Blazing
No, but
Saddles
he
tournament?
names the events after Mongo.
Oh,
and-
does he?
yeah,
Okay.
it's,
Oh, that's
you
all right
know,
then.
He's
You sit
got a
around
good
a
sense of humor.
campfire?
Yeah.
No, they see. Everybody always says, the campfire mixed triples. Oh, God, yeah, I don't think anybody would want to play that. No, but it's a lot of fun. And they have like charity and all
People
this
walk around. You go see somebody you haven't seen in a while, and you go, "What in the wide world of sports are you doing here?"
They use quarters in that movie too, don't they? Have to run and get quarters.
No, they have to get
on the
dimes.
turns? Is it
Yeah.
dimes?
Somebody's got to go back and get a bleep load of dimes.
Excuse me while I whip this out.
Great.
Okay. Do we
right.
have anything else? Can we just end
I think that's it. I think we need to get out of here.
Okay, thanks everybody for listening, putting up with the lateness and everything. We'll be back next Wednesday at the usual time.
Except for
we won't
for
have
Chat Room
Girl, but everybody else will be here. So
we'll be back to our old ways.
we'll stick around a little bit after the show, but it's raining pretty hard, so we're probably going to skedaddle.
Yeah.
So thanks. We'll
Thanks
talk
for
to
listening.
you next week. Thanks to our sponsors, the dartzone.com. Stay in
the zone.
The dartzone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. Also, thanks Windy City Fabricators and Redwood Darts, and we will dart talk to you next week. Take care.